Good morning. This is Brad, and I'm with my wife, Tiffany. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning.
We are the host of the Hustle and Flow podcast. We have been having a great morning, and we just finished a really powerful podcast on the emotional cup. So I hope you were able to listen to it last week and kind of get some things going. This morning, we're going to be talking about living versus existing. And I think that's a good subject, especially with maybe where you are in life, and we're gonna jump in there in just a few minutes and talk about that stuff. But if you're listening to this podcast, guys, hold on. Football is coming this weekend. And I know my wife's like, oh goodness, you love football season, don't you?
I don't mind it. It's just that I guess a lot of guys do this, and there's probably some women, but you don't just watch the one game. I'll ask you, hey, what about after the game?
One game, what does that mean?
I'll ask you, like, what about after the Ole Miss game is off? And you're like, okay, well, then Texas is playing. And then I'm like, okay, well, what about that? Well, then Florida's playing. Like, okay, so it's a all day thing.
Yeah. Saturdays in the fall.
Yeah, and you're checking the score when we're somewhere. Yeah.
It is God's gift to us.
No, it's not.
It is God's gift to us. And so, yeah, football's coming, man. It's and again, I really have to temper myself on Saturdays. I've seen that. I saw this morning somebody posted, I'm not even going to attend my own wedding on October the 12th. And like LSU's playing Ole Miss, and like these huge 4 or 5 big games that day potentially, and like everybody's like, I'm not going anywhere the day. Don't ask me. I'm not going anywhere. And so
Which is funny. Is that the weekend are you doing a Spartan in Nashville that weekend?
No, that's the weekend before. So October the 12th, just pretend I don't exist, because I'm going to veg out on the couch and watch football all day long. Because that's just my thing, man. I love football. And so we're excited about that. I'm an Ole Miss guy. Ole Miss is, that's what I was telling my buddies the other day, is that I don't really understand why they're playing this year. They basically, all the press coming out of Oxford, Mississippi, just pretty much says that Ole Miss is going to be the national champion. So if they would just go ahead and give us the trophy, we don't even have to play the games, because, prognosticators, they have it right. And one thing I know is I've been an Ole Miss fan my whole life, and it is just as well that we could go make the playoffs, lose in the playoffs, we could win the playoffs, or we could stumble our toe and go 8-4 and lose to Mississippi State at the end. And boy, that would be the kicker that we all want. But anyway, I'm just making a little jab. Pastor Mike over here has got his Mississippi State shirt on. I asked him, did he do that to antagonize me? But he swears up and down he didn't. And they're good Mississippi State fans. I just want you to know that. Pastor Mike's one of them. But anyway, I digress. Just joking. Football season's coming. Wives, I'm sorry. Maybe that's your time to shine and go shopping. Your husband probably won't notice the charges because he'll be busy watching football. But anyway, so we're going to talk this morning about living versus existing. And, this comes to mind. If you've seen one of Tiffany's favorite people is Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I'll tell you, though, Glenn Powell's pushing him out. He's I think he is
Twister boy.
I think he is the next Matthew, and I think he may be giving him a run for his money.
But you know why?
They're both from Texas.
Well, that's one reason. But you know another reason?
No.
Matthew's kind of aging out.
Nah, I don't know about that.
All right. He is aging out, so they got to bring in the new blood, and Glenn Powell is the new Texas blood. And eventually, what's going to happen is there will be a Matthew McConaughey will play Glenn Powell's father. That's kind of how that'll be. So they'll put those two together, and that's what that'll be. But I go back to, if you've heard him say it, you got to start living, man. Livin. And I hear that voice in my head all the time when I think about Matthew McConaughey.
What movie was that?
I don't remember what movie that was, but it's just a clip that's all over reels and social media. You got to start living, man. Livin. And that's such a true statement. because I was telling you, we drove South Carolina. Oh, that was a long trip. But anyway, we bought a truck. And so we left and drove to South Carolina and back. And I was exhausted when we got back. I know you were, but we were sitting at lunch. And I told you, I said, this topic has been on my heart lately about living versus existing, because at 52, I'm living, man. Like when I wake up, I am living. I am determined to take life and grab it and go. And do I like live every day? No, there's probably days I can wake up and exist, but I am doing everything I can at 52 to live. And I think it comes back to where, and we're going to hop in there and talk about maybe some signs of you existing versus living. It comes back to this. Life is short.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I want to live. I'd love to live to be 100 years old and be able to watch my kids grow and watch my grandkids and great-grandkids and dance with them at their weddings and, all the things and be able to see all that. But I don't know. I don't know. Last week, if you're a CrossFit person, if you're not, this is of no value to you. But if you're a CrossFit guy or CrossFit girl, they had the CrossFit Games last week. That's where they have 4 days of competition. It was in Fort Worth, Texas, and they crowned the fittest in the world. They're all over the world, the fittest people in the world. And the first event out of the gate was a 3.5-mile run as fast as you can run, and then a 800-meter swim in the lake at Fort Worth. Now, to elite athletes and people who swim or people who have, the caliber of people that were there are top of the line. It's not like me. Like I'd be like trying to figure out how to dive, not because I can't swim very well. You know what I'm saying? But first event, Lazar Dukic drowned. Elite athlete in his 20s, drowned. 100 meters from the finish. And his brother was part of that competition, and it was a gut punch to the CrossFit community and the CrossFit Games. But I go back to, and so what I say is, they showed a video of him getting ready to run at 0 minutes. 37 and some change minutes later, he was dead. And yes, he was doing something he loved. But I go back to, you do not know what your last minute's going to be. You don't know your last day. And so when you live your life and all you are doing is waking up day after day after day and just existing, there's no life in you. There's no energy. There's nothing that you look forward to. It's a miserable existence. And I want to encourage you, you got to start living. You can't wait till you retire. You can't wait till the kids get out of the house. You can't wait till this is right or that's right. You've got to wake up and grab life by the horns and start living.
Yeah, what you just said about you can't wait till you retire, and this is we're gonna make the turn here. We're gonna not be as it's not gonna be as sad, but I immediately thought about my aunt. Man, my aunt who was like a mother to me. She was waiting till she retired to start living. She did nothing but work, probably 60 hours a week, and she retired in the spring. I think was finished. Well, the summer, early summer, and by October she was in the hospital with terminal cancer, and that's just a few short months. There was, and that's what she would tell me every day in the hospital was I had plans. I was going to start vacation. I was going to start traveling and antiquing. She would tell me all the things that she had waited that she was going to do. And so I'm sure, yes, that I'm sure she wished that she would have taken more days off and not had those same, like, I'm just existing right now, but I'm waiting till I retire. Yeah.
And she was such a great lady, and that was a sad thing, but that's a great example because that was it. She wanted to go antiquing, and she wanted to be able to see her nieces and nephews because she had become like a grandmother to them as well, and loved them and provided for them and provided for you. And so it was insane. It was sad to see that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about. That's a great example. You can't wait. Like, you've got to decide, like, I'm going to go after something. And like, I'm passionate about this. Like, I am passionate. You've got to go after something. You just wake up and you go to work and you come home and you eat dinner and you watch TV and you cut it off and you do it again. That's no life, man. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting and emotionally draining, and it's no fun, and it's just easy to want to check out. But you can't do that, because I'm telling you, living your life to the fullest. And I've said this. I don't know if I've said this on this podcast before, but the book I read late 2 or 3 or 4 months ago, it said that the idea about getting to heaven, for those who are Christian people listening to this podcast, the idea to getting to heaven isn't to arrive safely at the door. It's to come in on 2 wheels, spinning tires, saying, oh my gosh, what a ride that was. That was crazy. I wish we could do it again. Because you can't go back and push the rewind button. You can't go back and say, you can't live life with regrets. And I think that's what I'm talking about. So
you don't mean getting into heaven. There's a different concept than getting into heaven by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
just a life well lived. When you get there, coming in on 2 wheels. Yeah.
I mean, you think about some of the best people that you can think of. Their life is full of stories.
Yeah.
They're full of stories. And
yeah, it's hard to create stories and interesting things from the same things every day. Yeah.
What did you do? What did you do with your life? Well, I went to work. What else? I came home. What else? I ate dinner. What else? I watched CSI. What else? I petted the cat. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, like, at the end of your life, you're going to look around and think, man, I missed some things. Because I don't know, like, this may sound whatever, and you can hop in here, because I'm not trying to dominate this, but like, it's passionate to me. The world don't love you back. Sometimes it's not going to give you the love that you want. Your company may not give you the love they want back. They may say, you know what, we're downsizing, and I appreciate your 30 years you put here, but I can tell you, take the day off. If you got PTO, take it. I've seen people with, man, I got 6 months PTO. Why?
Yeah.
When I worked at Cisco, food sales, and so I'm always that guy. Like, I read the rules, I read the books, I read the manuals, I know the stuff. You know what I mean? Church minutes, I know this stuff. And so I'd been working there about a year, and I noticed on my check there was this thing called a Cisco Day. I said, what is that? It had 8 hours beside it, a Cisco Day. I said, what is this? And I asked my boss. He said, well, that's just, they give you a day if you want to take it, and they'll pay you for it. He said, nobody's ever taken it. I said, really? I said, okay. I said, well, I want to take mine. He said, you want to do what? I said, I want to take my day off. He said, ain't nobody ever done it. I said, okay. I said, well, tell me what day, Monday through Friday, which day would be good next week so I can take off. And so we decided on like Wednesday, because that was one of my lighter days. And so what's funny is, no joke, when I did mine, every person in our district took theirs. And I thought, I don't want to be paid 8 hours. I want my day off. That's the day I can spend with my wife. That's the day we can eat some breakfast together. That's the day I can carry my kids to school. That's the day that, because I want to live.
Yeah.
And so, does that make sense? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Like, that's I want to live versus exist. And so here's some things. I read this article. It's in Texas Metro News, and it's online. If you want to pull it up and look at it, you can do that. But here's some signs that you may just be existing in your life and not living. Number one, time passes quickly. Everybody's got a busy life. I've told you, I think it was 2 days ago, I said, oh my God, it's the 12th already. that we've almost burned through August. You know, how quickly that has started. But, you know, if you discover that your days are flying by without important moments or experiences, it's a warning sign. You know, do you have any significant events?
Well, it goes back to what we just said. If every day, if you had to recap your last week, but everything was I went to work and I went home and watched TV, then that is a sign that the time is passing quickly, but you don't have any memorable experiences or moments. Yeah.
And that's the one thing I think that we have really tried to do. You know, maybe when we were younger, we didn't do such a great job at that. But the older we get, we really do try to celebrate moments and make memories and make moments. You know, we did a podcast on memories and moments, but time passing quickly, I want to remember my grandson being born.
Yeah.
You know, I want to remember my daughter's graduating from college or my son, or I want to remember those things. I want to remember last week my dad had a procedure. You know, I don't know how long he lives, but I want to remember the fact that I was there when he woke up and he gave me that fist bump. You know what I'm saying? My brother, he hugged my brother, but gave me a fist bump. You know what I'm saying? He probably would have hugged me too. You know what I'm saying? But he and I are a lot alike. And so our demeanors are a lot alike. We're a little gruff, tough sometimes. And so it was the fist bump. And I want to be there and remember that, you know. And so there are defining moments in life. And if you've ever read Dr. Phil's book, I can't imitate Dr. Phil, but Dr. Phil says you have 10 defining moments in your life. There's 10 defining moments who make you who you are, make you what you are. And when you get into just letting time pass quickly, there's times you may miss that defining moment. Mm. And you may not realize that it was a defining moment in your life. And you miss it. So another thing, and I'm going to say sometimes one of us has a little more issue with this one than the other.
We're not calling people out today. We're just talking.
Negative self-talk. If you may be existing, if you have a bunch of negative self-talk. Everybody criticizes himself sometime, right?
Yeah.
But what's the difference in criticizing yourself and then being negative about yourself? You know, what's your thought there? Because I yell when I'm in the woods and I'm running, people probably think I'm crazy. Because I'm like, suck it up, man, you suck. Keep running, keep going, you can do this, you know.
Well, I think the difference is you know, not letting it become a habit.
Right.
If you're a perfectionist, you can probably really get in a constant loop of negative self-talk and self-criticism. And I believe that we should be, to an extent, being self-critical as far as always wanting to be better and changing and not being stuck with the same traits or behaviors or bad habits. However, if you're talking to yourself so ugly all the time that it's affecting your self-esteem and your self-worth, then it's a problem. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That's it right there. Is that if you look in the mirror and think you're hideous, you are ugly,
not good enough.
You're not good enough. Yeah. You're not. That's the different concept versus saying, hey, you could do better.
Yeah.
Because we're all there, right? And there are people who another sign is you have a boring routine. You tell me all the time that I could be boring.
I've not said it quite like that.
Well, maybe not quite that mean.
I've said that without me,
okay,
you would be boring. I don't even say boring. I've said you would you would do the same boring routine and have very boring days if
potatoes,
you did not have me.
Semantics, okay, but
because would you not do you would have that propensity to wake up at the same time, go do the exact same workout, whether it's a run or a CrossFit workout, eat the same thing. You were mad this morning because you were out of the only protein that you will drink to make your shakes. You would not touch any other protein I had in the house, because it's your routine, and you would go do the exact same things if enter me.
Yeah. Because you bring the energy, boring routines, do you repeat the same thing? But the difference is I would repeat the same thing because I'm a routine person, but I have energy about my routine. But a lot of people, if you're existing, not living, you do it without energy. And the word there that you and I talked about is joy. You do things without joy.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about joy for a minute. Joy, happiness, you know, I've heard people say, I'm just not happy. Who cares? Who cares? If you want to be happy, then you may be happy today, but you may not be happy tomorrow. Happiness is fleeting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're biblical people. My Bible don't say something about being happy, but it does say something about having joy.
Yeah.
What's the difference between happiness and joy? What are your thoughts? I mean, joy is intrinsic.
Yeah, I think joy is a deeper seated emotion that comes from, you know, other values and things that are going on in your life, and happiness is sometimes just dependent upon the situation, and it can fleet. Mm-hmm. I was happy this morning, and now I'm not happy this afternoon. Mm-hmm. You know, I think on Facebook, isn't there even a Tiffany is feeling unhappy, or Tiffany, you know, because it's a smaller, I believe, emotion that can change rapidly. But joy, I think, is deeper seated. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you say that maybe joy is satisfaction? That you can be satisfied no matter what you are and where you are and what's going on?
Yeah.
And you know, that's one thing that I have always admired about you, is that you do have a sense of joy, and you can, if I've got $10 or $10,000, you can still be joyful, you know, whereas I've had to work on that, you know, I've had to work on the joy part of my life, and realize that the small things, I can have joy in the small things too. And I can do it with energy and joy and happiness. And there's that satisfaction that comes. And so, you know, if you fall into a boring routine, there's nothing wrong with routine. I think routine is great. I think routine, especially for people who have addictive personalities, is good. But you can't do it without energy. That's where there becomes a problem. You just exist. You get up, you go work, home, TV, sleep, work, home, TV, sleep, or monotonous habit, and you're not living. Another thing is, another way you can tell if maybe you're existing instead of living is avoiding social interactions.
You know, I was thinking about this. We are now glorifying staying home and not going and connecting with people. There's so many reels and TikToks and all the things about, you know, I don't know where y'all are at, you know, 7:00 on a Saturday night. I'm not coming. I'm going to be home. I like myself. I like to be in my bedroom with the curtains pulled and the TV on or whatever, and not around people. And people say it's too people-y. All those things. I don't know if COVID is the blame or not, but I know that we are becoming a less and less social society as far as wanting to be around people and wanting that interaction with people that we once, you know, that I think that we once had. So I think we're celebrating the fact now of being by ourselves and not wanting to be in places where it's people-y and hang out and seek that. It's a lot more comfortable now to be on TikTok or even to be texting somebody than to actually be in their presence.
Right. Well, but you said it though. They still want a connection, but they want likes and comments, not the connection, because avoiding social interaction. Listen, I get it. Sometimes I'll be one of those. Sometimes it's too people-y for me. Like, I'm good in crowds. Like, I'm good with people, but sometimes I just don't really want to, you know?
You know, and bouncing off that, there's sometimes, and I am a people-y person. I don't mind crowds. I don't mind groups. But sometimes there are things that I just don't want to go do. But I always feel energized and better when I actually did it and went.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than making plans. And then when it's time to go do the plans, you're like, oh, do I have to go? And you're like, yeah, you're going to go. You're going to have a good time when you get there. And I'm like, no, I will not. And you're like, yes, you will. I'm like, I'm not going to have a good time. And then I come home and I've had a good time.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I think though, you said it. It's easier to text somebody than it is to be in front of them. But human contact, avoiding social interaction. Human contact grounds you emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody might, when you send that text, they might not can see your face. But if I'm sitting in front of you, I can see when your eyes get big when I ask you a question like, oh, what are you asking? Or you can see the emotion behind something, you know, and that's why I hate text and email, because there's no emotion behind that. And so sometimes the way it's read or the way it's seen, but you know, human interaction, man, it grounds you emotionally. You cannot bond with a screen.
Right.
You cannot. And so,
well, it's hard to create those, like we were talking about, it's hard to create moments when you're not. Who are you creating the moment with? Your cat?
Right.
You know? It's hard to create those moments and memories if you're isolating.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so too. You know, another sign that you may be existing versus living is that you don't have any hobby or interests. And that's one thing that, you know, I've got plenty of hobbies. I have hobbies, and that's one thing you and I've talked about before, is you trying to find a hobby. But sometimes as a married couple, it's hard to have opposite and separate hobbies, and you feel obligated, well, this is their hobby, so I need to go do this, versus you finding something yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have any hobbies or interest, and hobbies, like for me, they relieve stress. Like my hobby is working out and running. It relieves stress. It hurts my body. I'm tired. But for me, when I go out there, I can clear the mechanism. I can clear my mind, and I can get out there and just put junk behind. You know, I've got a hobby. But I think if you don't have some kind of hobby, I believe that it really does not allow you to live. Feeling empty or depressed, you know, feeling empty. I think sometimes, like, you got to fill it with something, and that goes back to, you know, just finding that thing that makes you tick. And again, I think that matters. You know, lack of meaningful relationships. We just talked about that. I think that you need to find people who will make you better. You need to find people who will make you better and challenge you. If you, and sometimes that's a challenge for me, because I'm a creature of comfort, and I like comfort, and I don't like to be around people that are not like me sometimes, because then it challenges me to think differently. But I think that's a good thing. I think you need to be around people from different ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds. I think that you need to find different cultures and because that helps you as a person realize that there's somebody else besides you and that the world's not about you.
Yeah.
You know? Constant boredom, we've talked about that. What do you think about this? You're not living if you have little physical activity.
Yeah, of course, that's big in our world, but endorphins make you happy, and we just said you're not going to be happy necessarily all the time, but it is very critical to your emotional well-being and all of those things, to find something, whether it's walk, whatever, just getting outside and doing something, walking, running, going to the gym. But two, what those things can do sometimes is, if you don't have any circles anywhere, find something you think you would like to do. Find you a walking group, kickboxing, CrossFit. I don't know where else they have strong, like gyms they have strong communities at, but find you a community of people to go and live life with and to do those things with. But yeah, physical activity too will get you out of that rut so that you can live. Yeah.
I think that's it. I think you said it, finding some kind of community, whether it's a hobby, whether it's exercise group or something, finding some kind of community.
Pickleball, disc golf, tennis, golf, like there's
crocheting,
yeah,
anything, finding some kind of community.
It's not really a physical activity.
Well, I mean, it might be if your hands are working real fast, but you understand what I'm saying? I think it goes back to finding a community to hang out in, because you can get better and you can live when you find something, and you never know what you really like, you know?
Yeah.
I think procrastination, laziness is another one. You prioritize satisfaction above doing critical tasks. And lazy people and procrastinators want to just let life happen to them, but sometimes you've got to grab a hold and you got to go. Neglecting responsibilities, you just wander aimlessly without a purpose. I'll say this: you neglect obligations, there's major consequences that come from that. Major consequences. But I like this one, and I want to talk about this one for a minute. Is escapism. Escapism. People escape into so many things. And so when you start to escape into life, things other than just living real life, it's a problem. It's a real problem. I told you before, I'm an NCAA football guy. I love it. New 2025 just came out. But, I'm in this group, and it's fun to watch, But I followed this one guy, and he'd spent, I think I told you, 259 hours on the game. And talking about all the national championships he won. And the truth is, when he cuts that game off, he has absolutely accomplished zero. Yeah. He has escaped versus getting up, killing something, and dragging it home.
Yeah, because it sounds like that's moved past just being a hobby or interest, and that has before, become a form of escapism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of living and doing the things that going back to what we just said, making the moments and making the memories, that's turned into something besides just a fun hobby.
Right. Yeah. Well, do it at work. People do it with their kids. They escape. They just get into something else. And so I think that just really, really gets into a problem. Excessive time spent on screens is one way you can tell if you're existing, not living. And we've all done it. Look, we've all done it. You're sitting with somebody who's flesh and blood, and you're scrolling a screen looking at other people's lives.
Yeah.
And just mindlessly scrolling. It's a habit. You hop on there, you're just flipping. You're just flipping. You're just flipping. You're just flipping. But I can tell you that moving from existing to living is flipping a switch, saying, you know what, I'm not going to be the same person next week. I'm going to do something different today. And I think it comes back to maybe having no goals and no ambition.
Well, I think that's a good point to probably wrap up with, is that one way to live and to not just exist is to set some goals, set some ambitious goals, some very lofty goals, rekindle some passions and some, desires and ambitions, and spend some time working towards something and kind of renewing purpose, because that's what that can do sometimes, is having goals can renew purpose in you when you've lost your drive and your purpose and you are just living and existing.
Right. What kind of goals you got? You got anything really? What's the goal of yours? What do you want to do?
Well,
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'm behind, but I'm still working towards books. One of our goals was podcast, and here we are. I don't even know what episode we're at.
And I don't know.
And it seemed
30, 29.
Yeah, I mean it's that's this year in 2024. That was a goal, and so that has got us out of our routine that we would have normally been in, and it's been fun to see this unfold. And so, some of my other goals, my filming food, cooking videos. I can't wait to see that unfold and what that'll bring, because it's just been something like going back to the whole thing of not just, we could have easily just done the same thing we always do.
Right.
But this is one of those things that's gotten us out of that routine of just existing. Yeah.
Because and I think that's it, is that you really never know what your thing is until you get out there and find something. And if it don't work, shut it down. Try something else. Do something different. I've committed myself to learning how to speak Spanish. And it's not easy. Everybody, and I thought about this the other day. Everybody wants to laugh at somebody who has broken English, but they know 2 languages. You don't.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. And so I'm diligently trying to learn that. And I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm not going to quit. That's a goal of mine. I don't know what that serves in my life other than being able to communicate with a different set of people. It opens up a different world. but have a goal. Set some goals, have some ambition. And the old saying is that if you don't have a goal, you'll hit it every time.
Yeah.
And that shoot for the sun, you may land among the stars. You know, those sayings. But you got to have a goal. You got to set up. But there's something. Listen, if you're listening to me right now as we get ready to finish, there is absolutely something in your life that energizes you. There is something you get pumped up about. There is something that just stokes your fire. But you got to go out and actually get after it. You can't. Don't live your life and wake up at 75 and think, this sucks. Wake up tomorrow thinking, I'm going to get something today. I'm going to do something different today. I am not going to be the same as I was yesterday. I am not going to go home and click on the TV and binge watch and eat potato chips all afternoon, and I'm not going to work on my dream. I wished I had a business. Well, get off of the work you're doing at 4 or 5 o'clock and go home and work on your business. Go home and work on your family. Go home and work on how you treat your kids. Go home and work on how you help at your church. Go home and volunteer at the Civic Center. Go do something. Live life and quit existing. And I promise you, you'll be a better person for it. The world will be a better person for it because they're waiting on you. Any final words?
Nope. Sounds good.
All right. Well, that is it this morning. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, listen, if you see a direction you want to go, hop in the flow with people who are headed that way, and you will get there. We encourage you to just be a positive influence in this world, and you'll see good results. Have a good morning. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey. Yeah. Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh. I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better.